Let's be clear about something. If Keira Walsh is fit, Keira Walsh starts. There's no debate. I've had a lot of people request that I make a video on Walsh, and now, this is the time. People say that Keira Walsh is replaceable, Keira Walsh doesn't do anything on the pitch, all she does is just walk around, and it really hurts me to hear those things said about her. Because I used to play as a holding midfielder, and the work of a number 6 often goes unnoticed. Keira Walsh, along with other holding midfielders out there, are much more appreciated by their teammates than their fans, and in this video, I'm going to explain why. In my opinion, her best performance in a Chelsea shirt came in the recent 1-1 draw against Barcelona in the Champions League, but because UEFA are strict on their copyright and don't want content creators to help grow the women's game, I don't want to make this video with stills because it wouldn't do our midfield maestro justice. So this is where I'm at with my life right now. So sit back, relax, and by the end of this video, hopefully you'll have an appreciation for us holding midfielders, if you didn't have one already.
Penalty, no?
When Chelsea are in possession, and England as well, but I'm mainly going to talk about the Chelsea-Arsenal game from just a few weeks ago. When Chelsea are in possession, her job is to dictate, just like this guy. Walsh's job isn't to make herself available to pass to at every single moment. She's telling people who to pass to. Chelsea are finding it tough to play through Arsenal here, and as Olivier Giroud's biggest fangirl Hannah Hampton gets the ball,
the one that pops in my mind 100% is Olivier Giroud.
Really?
When he was younger, oh my goodness, hello. Hello.
Walsh is shouting at her to pass the ball wide to Niamh Charles. That's where the space is because Chelsea had the ball on the right side of the pitch, which meant most of the Arsenal players were on the same side. But because Arsenal were all bunched up on this side of the pitch, Beth Mead isn't wide enough and thus finds herself closing down Millie Bright instead of Niamh Charles, which means Emily Fox has to be the player to close down Charles, pulling her way out of position. As the ball gets to Charles, she looks for the pass down the line to Thompson, and thanks to the graphic that doesn't provide us with anything useful, we can't see Alyssa Thompson. But Walsh is calling for her to pass it to Macario, so she changes her mind and listens to Walsh. Macario then sends a ball for Thompson to chase against Lotte Verben-Moy, and Chelsea have just given themselves a dangerous attacking platform in 2 passes, entirely orchestrated by Keira Walsh without her even touching the ball. This wave of attack ultimately comes to nothing, but this is Keira Walsh playing football with her brain, knowing where the space is, anticipating 2-3 steps ahead, and Chelsea were in the final third. Throughout every single game Walsh plays, you can constantly see her pointing to where she wants the ball to be played. It's a shame we can't hear her, because I imagine she finishes each game with a sore throat because she's constantly communicating to her teammates about where she wants the ball to go and where her teammates should be. I'm also surprised she doesn't suffer from whiplash given how often she turns her head to scan the pitch. Chelsea are 1-0 up at this point. They don't need to urgently score another one. Here she tells Bright to relax, let Arsenal come to them, and react to where the space is. Russo ends up doing exactly what Walsh wants and presses Bright. At the same time, Walsh opens up for a pass in space the size of Rochdale, which was her plan all along, but Bright ends up passing it back to Hampton, apologising to Walsh in the process. If Keira Walsh wants the ball, she gets it. If that isn't a rule within the Chelsea team, it should be. Walsh isn't given this much space all the time, and should have gotten the ball from Millie Bright. Walsh knows that if she gets the ball, she will attract attention from the opposition to close her down. But she's only as useful as the movement her teammates give her to work with. People often expect Keira Walsh to pull off magical through balls all the time, but she needs help from her teammates to move into dangerous areas as well. Russo goes to press Natalie Bjorn, and Walsh moves to open up as Russo presses, and actually does end up getting the ball this time, sticking her middle finger up at Millie Bright in the process. Chelsea's build-up tempo is slow, but Walsh has seen space, and she's seen a path for Chelsea to play out from the back, and just look at this. Walsh raises the tempo of the build-up, and Chelsea have now exited the Arsenal press with Keira Walsh at the heart of all of it. Kaptein is now away, and has nobody in front of her as she drives through the centre of the pitch. This comes to nothing as the early ball to Alyssa Thompson, giving her a one-on-one against Emily Fox would have been the correct decision. But Kaptein holds on to the ball for too long, and yeah, this has been Chelsea's big problem so far this season. Walsh is incredible at increasing the tempo of the attack when she sees that an opportunity is on, and this is something only a player with elite vision and anticipation can do. People think Keira Walsh needs to be spraying passes left and right constantly, thinking she has to be at the heart of everything, but her number one thought when she's on the ball will always be, how do I put my teammates in dangerous attacking positions? Here we see Walsh telling Bright to hold on to the ball, to relax, as she makes a move out wide to provide an option for her captain. Then she tells Cuthbert and Captain to fill in for her at holding midfield so they can play out from the back. What this does is that it drags Mariona Caldente and Victoria Pelova higher up. And since Chelsea play with a midfield 3 as opposed to Arsenal's midfield 2, Walsh senses this is the time to strike. She takes one quick look to see everyone's positions and sees that Caldente is painfully out of position if you're an Arsenal fan. She takes a touch, turn and gives the ball to Vika Kaptein, and she's in behind the Arsenal midfield. As a holding midfielder, the ability to scan the pitch, process all the information, and think of a solution in under 5 seconds is the hallmark of a world-class number 6. Walsh sets Kaptein off on the gallop, and at this point, she's done her job there. The attack is everyone else's responsibility. Walsh doesn't need to be involved in everything, but she's so often the player to start an attacking wave for her team. The ball ends up going back to Keira Walsh, and she does something ridiculously out of this world. Seriously, this is crazy. From here, Keira Walsh gives the ball back to Arsenal under no pressure. Walsh split the Arsenal team open with her passing a few times this game, most notably when she gave Alyssa Thompson the ball in behind the Arsenal midfield, and she just goes and does this for fun, like it's a kickabout in the local park. Kat Macario is really good at holding up the ball from centre forward, and this is another thing the holding midfielder needs to think about. Not just how to get teammates into dangerous attacking positions, but also, how do I enhance the skills of my teammates? Alyssa Thompson is a fearless runner, and will keep terrorizing defenders all day long, so Walsh often wants her to receive the ball in space where she can do what she does best, which is to give defenders nightmares. Macario, on the other hand, is great at hold-up play, basically the American Alessia Russo, so Walsh shouts for the ball from Millie Bright and takes out 4 Arsenal players with one pass to Kat Macario. And if Macario was really the American Alessia Russo, her first touch would be better here, but she loses the ball and Keira Walsh's vision and exquisite passing comes to nothing. Arsenal did well to stifle Chelsea's build-up in this game. They defended high and made it really uncomfortable for Chelsea to play the kind of football they want to play, which is playing out from the back. I'm given to understand that Keira Walsh has a couple of nicknames. Some that come to mind are Wonder Walsh.
We've seen you in the news, Keira, with the nickname Wonder Walsh.
Nutmeg Queen. The Dog Whisperer.
You do talk to your dog. I don't know what you're talking about.
The Worm.
I can do the worm. Can you show us?
Whoa! Keira Walsh!
The Rochdale Justin Bieber. But my nickname for her is the Janitor, because she cleans up all the mess on the pitch. Chelsea are struggling to get the ball out of their half under Arsenal's pressure. Walsh gets the ball, and just look at that. Cleans up a messy situation and sets Alyssa Thompson off on another adventure. Keira Walsh kept playing her teammates in behind the Arsenal midfield on a good number of occasions, but they were never able to score more than 1 goal in this game due to poor decision making and execution, which is a separate video in itself. This highlights Keira Walsh's brilliance at conducting the build-up, controlling the game, and releasing the ball to players to let them do what they do best, which is exactly what her role is. Giving the ball to the talented attacking players and letting them do their thing. It's quite simple stuff, but someone has to walk in order for others to fly, and Keira Walsh is the master of doing the simple things extremely well. Walsh didn't have too many opportunities to play defense-splitting passes against Arsenal due to the Gunners' high press, but let's take a look at a game where she did have a lot of time and space on the ball. She will still keep the tempo high and take as little touches of the ball as possible. 2 touches and she sends the ball over the top to Lucy Bronze, who has made a run in behind into space, creating this chance for Alessia Russo. But unfortunately, she forgets to use her head for a header. Walsh sent a lot of through balls in behind against China, mainly because China's defense was really quite unorganized, and they didn't put much pressure on the ball. So Walsh constantly had time to scan the pitch and play a good ball in behind when the Lionesses were in their own half building up. This is what happens when you give Keira Walsh time and space on the ball. She will cut your defense open. Germany learnt this the hard way in the 2022 Euros final. Walsh providing the pass for Ella Toon's chip that I've seen about 67,420 times. When Chelsea or England are on the attack in the final third, Walsh will usually hang out around here, acting as a safety net for her teammates when they run out of options to go forward. Toon doesn't really have an option in front of her, so she gives the ball to Walsh for her to reset the attack. Walsh then plays the ball back to Toon and England win a corner after some slick passing. She doesn't need to get involved in the attack, rather she's just there to provide her teammates with an option to start another wave of attack, lingering back here to receive the ball whenever they need her. I can see her calling out to her teammates, "I'm back here only if you need it." England fail to find a way past China on the left flank, so they go back to Walsh and she switches the ball to the other side. England try and attack down the right hand side now, and when they also don't find a way through, back to Keira Walsh they go. This seems like such a simple role, but it's extremely necessary. Someone needs to anchor the team and redirect the attack when everyone else is running around trying to create space to attack. This is the kind of balance to the team that Keira Walsh brings, and quite frankly, a lot of teams in the world lack this kind of player. Everything I've spoken about so far is when Walsh's team is attacking, and while she's very good in possession, that's not her biggest strength. We're going to talk about her defensive role in the team now, which is by far her most valuable asset to any team she plays for. Her number one priority in the team, whether it's Chelsea or England, is to organise the defence. Walsh will always position herself here, roughly 5 meters give or take in front of the back four. This is excellent positioning as she's close enough to the back four to give them a layer of protection, as the space directly in front of the centre backs is a very dangerous area for the opponent to have the ball. And as Arsenal bring the ball wide, Walsh has Alessia Russo in her sights, as she's playing as a number 10 in this game, so she has to mark her. Mariona Caldente makes a move to receive the ball in space, and Walsh calls for Captain, who was completely unaware of Caldente, to press her because Walsh knows exactly where this ball is going. Captain shoots in and ends up winning the ball. Walsh tells Captain to pass to Cuthbert, and Chelsea are on the counter-attack. She does this a lot, regularly telling her teammates to press certain players because she knows where the ball will end up. In the first minute of the game, Beth Mead has the ball on the right-hand side. The only attacking passing option for her is to pass it to Victoria Pelova. Keira Walsh sees this instantly and tells Captain to press Pelova. She does so, and that option is now no longer an option for Beth Mead, forcing her to go backwards, disrupting the attacking momentum of the Arsenal build-up. It seems like Keira Walsh only tells Captain what to do in defence, but that's not true. Here's an example of her organising the entire back line. Ford gets the ball in a little bit of space and Natalie Bjorn shoots out to press her. Walsh at this point drops back to cover Bjorn at centre half, and since the ball has gone out wide, she's anticipating the cross into the box. So, she takes the responsibility of marking Stina Blackstenius from Millie Bright and tells her captain to slide out and mark Alessia Russo instead, and tells Niamh Charles, who was watching Russo, to mark Bethany Jane Mead on the far side. Once Natalie Bjorn is back in position at centre half, she leaves her to mark Blackstenius, and Walsh pushes higher up to cover this glaringly huge space on the edge of the box, which contains a wild Victoria Pelova making a late run into the danger area. The cross ends up coming in from Caitlin Ford, Bjorn hacks it away, and Chelsea deal with this wave of Arsenal attack really well. Everything Keira Walsh does here is honestly perfect. Her communication is remarkable, her positioning is magnificent, her football IQ is phenomenal, and she does a tremendous job marshalling the defense, which is something she does very well every single game, but no one ever notices. Speaking of her positioning, I genuinely think that's an area of the game she's world class at. It's imperative for a holding midfielder to have good defensive discipline, and along with that discipline comes defensive positioning. Arsenal are trying to build out from the back, and look at where Vika Kaptein and Erin Cuthbert are. Both of them are pushing high up the pitch looking to press, so Keira Walsh needs to stay back and hold her position. She knows that this ball is going to Beth Mead, and the space to attack is over here, where Alessia Russo and Katie McCabe are. Walsh has already seen all of that, and based on everyone else's positions, Blackstenius is well covered by the two centre-backs and Ford is well covered by Bronze. The only pass for Mead to make is to Alessia Russo. Mead also has the option to dribble forward herself, but Alyssa Thompson is chasing her and would have gotten there pretty quickly. Pressing Mead herself would mean that she would be dragging herself out of position, and as a holding midfielder, staying in your position and remaining a player the opponent has to beat in order to get to the centre-backs is very, very important. It's almost like a, if you want to get to them, you gotta go through me kind of sentiment. So, knowing that the pass to Russo is Mead's only option, Walsh just stands in the passing lane to Russo, blocking any kind of pass Mead can make. Mead decides to chip the ball over Walsh behind Russo, and she takes the ball down in an awkward area and is forced to go backwards. And Katie McCabe over here is pissed, because Mick Ford would have had a 2-on-1 against Lucy Bronze. McCabe was incensed, and luckily Chloe Kelly wasn't on the pitch, so McCabe can't throw a ball in her face out of frustration. If Keira Walsh wasn't standing here, the ball would have comfortably been in front of Russo, and Arsenal probably score a goal here. But even though Walsh doesn't win the ball, or even touch it for that matter, what she does with her positioning is break up the Arsenal attacking momentum and slows down the tempo, turning what could have been a goal-scoring chance for Arsenal into an attacking rhythm that breaks down and was forced to go backwards and reset. A player can only do this when they're able to analyze all of the options the player on the ball has, and work out what option they're most likely going to choose and anticipate when the pass is going to be played in about under 3 seconds. Basically, if the ball doesn't go near Keira Walsh, that means her positioning is perfect. In this passage of play, Walsh is here, tracking both Russo and Caldente. She tells Captain to mark Caldente so she can focus on closing down Russo. Catley gets the ball, and let's take a look at all the options she has. The passing lane to Caitlin Ford is on. Johanna Tinkanerud is standing in the passing lane to Katie McCabe, so that's not a viable option. Passing it back to Victoria Pelova would be pointless unless she absolutely has to. The long ball to Blackstenius in behind isn't actually a bad option, but the option Catley is thinking of is the short ball to Alessia Russo. Walsh figures this out in about 2 seconds and rushes to press Russo before Catley can even think about passing the ball to her, shutting this option down expertly, and Arsenal are forced to go backwards once again. If you're wondering why Walsh is so eager to shut Russo down before she even receives the ball, Russo is a player that is great at playing with her back to goal. So often does she spin out of contact with one touch and gets away from the defender. That's why Walsh is so eager to press Russo so aggressively, to not let her turn, and she does everything to get her to play the ball backwards, and did so really successfully this game. Like I said earlier, if the ball doesn't come near Keira Walsh, then she's done everything right with her positioning and anticipation. Here are a few more examples from this game, just to show you how important it is to have a defensive midfielder with exceptional defensive positioning. Caitlin Ford dribbles past Lucy Bronze and she's looking to pass the ball to Russo here. Keira Walsh is stood here, knowing exactly what Ford wants to do, and blocks the passing lane, ready to intercept if the pass is played. This causes Ford to rethink her life all over again. She stutters and plays a 50-50 pass to Caldente that comes to nothing in the end. It might look like Walsh is just standing around here, but she's blocking the passing lane to Alessia Russo once again, and she's facing this way, ready to press Pelova because that's the next best passing option for Ford. Caitlin Ford ends up going backwards to Caldente, and Arsenal lose the ball. This is the best one. Emily Fox drifts inward looking for a pass, but Walsh is standing in the passing lane to Frida Leonhardsen-Monum, who's come on to play as the number 10. Fox ends up passing the ball back out wide, and Arsenal kinda don't know what to do with the ball, which I'm sure Arsenal fans are used to seeing by now, and Mariona Caldente gets the ball out wide. Walsh knows this ball is going to Monum, so she calls for Bright to close her down, and this is another huge job for a holding midfielder to do, and that is to cover for players that have been dragged out of position. Bright drifts wide to follow Monum, and Walsh drops back and covers Bright at centre half. Walsh continues to back up as Arsenal attack down the wing, scans the pitch and sees Captain and Cuthbert covering her position at the edge of the box, and heads Caldente's cross away. This is honestly impeccable execution of defending as a holding midfielder. Just keep your eye on Walsh the whole time. She's constantly scanning the pitch to see where everyone is, has great spatial awareness on a football pitch, and deals with the threat well. This is the kind of stuff that goes unnoticed at first glance, but I know her teammates really appreciate her, as she's so often the defensive general that keeps everything tidy and organized. So, we've gone over her defensive positioning, her anticipation, and her reading of the game. Now, the question is, when does she actually press? Well, I'm so glad you asked. She presses under 2 circumstances: whenever she spots an opportunity to slow the attack down, and whenever she has to. Against China, Li Mengwen, or if anyone is curious how her name should be pronounced in Chinese, it's Li Mengwen. She dribbles past Tooney and Leslie Russo really nicely, and she's looking to pass to Shao Ziqin, but Walsh blocks the passing lane once again, and presses Li to slow down the Chinese attack and forces Li to go backwards, undoing all of her good work when she dribbled past.
Here we go. Toonie and Leslie Russo.
I think at this point everyone knows how dangerous Mariona Caldente is on the ball. So when Caldente is in a bit of space here, Walsh shoots forward to disrupt her, not allowing her to turn and not allowing her more than one touch on the ball. Caldente ends up poking the ball to Russo, and Arsenal go backwards again, having to reset their attack. In my opinion, Walsh absolutely had to shoot forward here. Otherwise Arsenal would have been on a dangerous attack with Blackstenius and Ford already on their bikes running in behind. Whilst I was doing some research for this video, I did something I absolutely despise, and that is, I looked up Women's Super League stats. And for those of you that don't know, I absolutely hate stats. They don't tell you the context of the game at all. And the even more upsetting thing is, I didn't even manage to find the stat I was looking for. Holding midfielders don't often dominate football statistics, but the one stat they will always top is distance covered. Number 6s run a lot during a game, covering lots of ground through cutting off passing options to covering for teammates out of position, or if you're Damaris Aguirola, most of her distance covered against Belgium 2 years ago actually came from celebrating scoring 2 goals in injury time to send the Netherlands into the Olympics. And Keira Walsh is of course no exception to that. Look at Walsh here, tracking Russo, then tracking Pelova, and then following her run in behind, showing she has a really high defensive work rate. She does a lot of running no one notices, often tracking runs when teammates are out of position, like this one, tracking Olivia Smith's run in behind, preventing her from playing a good cross into the box. She does this a lot, regularly tracking runs from opposition players in behind, making sure the ball doesn't get played in behind to them, often slowing the pace of the attack down. I mean, just look at this defensive discipline and work rate, tracking Aslani's run from the halfway line, preventing a one-on-one with the keeper. Keira Walsh is a metronome, a midfield general, playing 4D chess on the pitch whilst everyone else is playing the boring 2D version you used to play on the desktop when your dial-up internet wasn't working. She plays football with her brain, and as the legendary Johan Cruyff once said, playing football is very simple, but playing simple football is the hardest thing there is. And Keira Walsh is a player that does the simple stuff really, really well. It's time we acknowledge, cherish, and adore holding midfielders, because they deserve all the respect and admiration in the world for the amount of unnoticed work they put into each game. Obviously, Keira Walsh has a lot more aspects to her game that are exceptional as well, like her long-range shooting, popping up with a couple of goals for England, putting her 50 goals behind the record goal scorer Ellen White. Hopefully this video would make you fall in love with the number 6 position, and if it hasn't, I'm sure all of you want to be Keira Walsh right now. Walsh is truly a one-of-a-kind player. Probably the least English player England has ever produced. I love watching her play, and it genuinely is a blessing we get to witness. One of the best holding midfielders in the world, doing what she does best on a football pitch, bossing players around, playing magnificent passes, and organising the team. The next time you watch a Chelsea or England game, I urge you to just watch Keira Walsh. No one else. You will see the game in another dimension. I promise you. Holding midfielders are the unsung heroes of a football team. And it's about time Keira Walsh got the flowers she deserves.